Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. My name is Jay. Oh my gosh, it has been a while, and I want to be the first to say I'm sorry. I want to say I'm sorry because, guys, it's been over definitely a year or so since this podcast has aired. I have moved. I have been planting a community. I don't know if you guys could tell, but we have a new background. It's kind of cool. I've been trying to build this up. We have a new name. We have a new vision for the podcast, which has been super exciting. So I'm gonna just talk about that here really soon and then answer some questions at the end of the podcast. But I'm really, really excited to be back. The Lord has really been inspiring me and putting a lot of inspiration and desire to get back to podcasting, and I'm so pumped. So we're going to start really, really quick with the name. It is now Game Changers. Okay, so the Game Changers podcast, I love the name. I'm super pumped for it and what it stands for. And what a lot of the topics we're going to be talking about is we're going to expand a little bit. So obviously you guys know that it is Us Girls Basketball. That is the brand. That is the head honcho part of the company. But I really wanted to open up a little bit to share more athlete stories. So that's why we're calling it Game Changers. So we're going to bring on a lot of athletes, former athletes, current athletes, coaches, strength trainers, just people in the field of athletics who just exemplify that excellence in the athletic field, which is super exciting to me. We're going to be talking a lot about faith as well. Faith is very, very important to me. It is actually the reason why Us Girls Basketball is even a thing. The Lord has dropped it on my heart a long time ago. There's some really, really cool stories about that with actual visions about what Us Girls Basketball is and where it's heading and just trying to steward that well. So I'm pumped to talk about that as well in future episodes. And then, of course, mindset. You guys already know mindset is one of the key things to Us Girls Basketball, now Game Changers podcast. So really, really excited for that. So that's a little bit why the podcast has kind of changed and the name has changed because, again, we're opening up to men and women both being able to share their stories about how they were able to use their athletic ability to glorify the Lord, build a strong mindset, and be able to tell their story and just inspire you guys. So that is going to be the main mission of this podcast, and I'm really excited for you guys to join. So if you guys have really cool people, really cool guests that you know in the back of your mind that would be amazing for this podcast and their story needs to be told, please comment it down below or message me their name, their profile, their contact information so that I could get in contact with them to be able to share, their stories and give them a platform to do that. So that is a little behind the scenes. Guys, life update. Okay. When I last recorded this podcast, I was in Florida. Now I'm in California. I've been in California for over a year now. This has been an 8-year journey, which if you guys want to hear more about that, please let me know because let me tell you, there is definitely some tea to be had on this 8-year journey and why it took that long. But it has been amazing. So that's why, too, the podcast kind of took a back burner because I was doing a lot of growth in this year, being planted in some communities, just trying to steward what the Lord was doing in my heart recently in this last year, all that good stuff. So with that being said, that is why the podcast took so long to come back. But now we're here, and I'm really excited because I think I needed some rest because I was going really hard with the podcast and Us Girls Basketball, and now I feel rested. And starting this podcast again was really, really inspired by the Lord, and I just felt this really deep desire to start it again. So I'm really excited for what He's about to do and the doors that He's about to open. And the guest He's about to have on, especially the guests that we already have lined up, but also the guests that we have not even booked yet. But I know it's going to be sick because we're going to have a lot of cool people on this pod. So it's really, really exciting. So I hope you guys enjoy the journey. Now, I know this is like a super quick podcast. I just wanted to kind of have an intro and let you guys know what's been up. But I do want to answer a few questions that I've been asked on my TikTok and on my Instagram, which you guys should go follow because we actually are doing a 75-day hard challenge, but like a basketball edition one. So if you want to join in on that, because it is off season, this is the time to put that work in. Please go do it. It's not too late to start. Let me know when you have started because I want to be able to encourage you guys. There's also an email list if you want to join, daily encouragement for you guys, because I know it's hard. I have tried 75-day hard multiple times and it has not gone well for me. So I just, because I was doing it by myself, but when I was able to join with friends, I was able to succeed at it a lot better. Now I'm still working through it, but being able to have that daily encouragement and accountability really helps. So make sure to join that email list. Okay, with that being said, we're going to answer the first question. And the first question is, how to recover physically and mentally from an injury? Now, the first thing I'm going to say is I obviously am not a medical professional. I'm not a physical therapist, any of sorts of that. So I'm just going to go off of just some tangible things that you can do and practical advice. So first, the physical side of it is be okay with rest, okay? Because our body is healing, right? When you're injured, you're going through a healing phase and stage. So make sure that you are resting and not overdoing it, because when you come back way too early or you're doing things that you're not supposed to when you should be resting, you're aggravating that injury, and that is not good. And honestly, what I have seen is it causes you to get re-injured or it causes you to have a worse injury, and we don't want that, okay? I'd rather you be out for 4 or 5 months than be out for 2-3 months, get re-injured, and now that injury is worse. So about athletes, we have to be a little bit more smarter and a little bit more intentional about our rest when it comes to that stuff. Also, my piece of advice for the physical side of it is please listen to your physical therapist or your strength coaches or whoever is guiding you through this injury and really doing those works. I know that corrective work, and I know that those little tangible stretchings, again, corrective work, those kinds of things can be boring and not fun, but you have to do them. Again, it's setting you up for success. A word that you guys might not know or do know that I love so much is the word intentionality. If you are not intentional with your work, whether that's to get back or that prep work or the small things, you're not going to be set up for success. So please, please, please be intentional with that. So for the physical side, those are my pieces of advice because, again, I'm not a medical professional and I don't want to give advice that's not correct. So those are my pieces of advice. For the mental side, this honestly could be a whole podcast on its own. It really could. But for the mental side, what I'm going to tell you is, first of all, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace in the process of you are recovering. Your body is being healed and you are going through that process. So you have to give yourself grace if you don't feel good that day. If your body is really sore that day, if maybe the day before you were able to have a jog and maybe you're too sore and you have to walk, that's okay. Give yourself grace for that. Another thing with recovering from that injury mentally would be to know that you are still valuable to your team. Just because you're injured doesn't mean that you hold no value, that your teammates hate you, that there's not a space for you. That is the most incorrect thing I've ever heard in my life. Okay? You still have value. You still have a place for that team. Or place on that team. You can fill a role now that maybe you haven't filled. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Yeah, does it suck to be out? Does it suck to not be on that court or that playing field? Absolutely. But now own that role of being an amazing teammate or being able to observe from the outside what you don't observe when you're on the floor. That is a very real thing. And honestly, it's time to switch your mindset to know that just because I'm injured doesn't mean I'm not learning or getting better. What do I mean by that? Okay, first of all, learning plays. When you're injured, now you have an opportunity to step back and watch how the play is run. Now you can maybe watch all 5 positions instead of the one position that you're mainly playing. That is huge, okay? So it's a learning thing. Also, too, when you are only able to be maybe a teammate from the sideline, right, and not be able to physically be on the floor, now you can get better at being a better teammate by really having your energy now encouraging, right? Instead of being out of breath or whatever, you have your energy to encourage, to be able to talk to your teammates one-on-one, to be able to just support them. That way, when you get back on the floor, now you carry those really good habits of being a supportive teammate back on the floor when you're actually playing. So those are a few things that I think are like really good pieces of advice that I've heard, I've learned, I've actually seen with teammates that have been injured. So hopefully that helps. But again, I think this could be a whole podcast and dive a little deeper. So question number 2 is how to get better at ball handling. Okay, I'm going to just be really straight up with this answer. How to get better at ball handling. Do the work. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. You have to be committed to it every single day. Ball handling does not take an hour, okay? 10 minutes, 5 minutes. If that's all you have, do it, okay? Whether that's, I used to, thank you parents. I used to actually do ball handling in the house when it was too cold because I grew up in Indiana, or a garage. But like if you have a space inside your house to like do a little bit of dribbling or even like ball wraps or something like that, get your hands on the ball. Getting better at ball handling is simple as you have to do the work. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. You have to do the work. You have to be committed and dedicated to getting better. Now, again, there's certain workouts, right, where now you got to actually put it on the floor and you got to do attack moves by moving game speed, all that type of stuff. But you can at least get 10 minutes a day at your house and then build from there. And the third question, this is going to be the last one that I'm going to answer, is how to improve your skills as a middle school athlete. I'm going to give you 3 things that I think middle school athletes need to focus on right now that are super easy that you guys can actually start today right after listening to this podcast. And the first one, kind of piggybacking off of the second question, is ball handling. Do the work. As a middle school athlete right now, you should be ball handling like crazy. You should be building that habit because let's be real. A lot of people don't like ball handling, okay? I'm going to be honest with you. Most of the girls that I train, their least favorite thing is ball handling. I can't relate because I actually loved ball handling. That was one of my favorite things as an athlete. So I need more people out there to like ball handling. But if you are a middle school athlete and you develop the habit of ball handling every single day and getting better at that, I'm telling you, you are going to be light years ahead of a lot of athletes who aren't, and they're catching up on their ball handling. So if you can focus on ball handling, that is tip number 1. Tip number 2 is working on your weak hand with your layups, okay? So being able to make a left-handed layup, or if you're a lefty, a right-handed layup, and being comfortable with that. That is just something that will set you apart, that will catch a coach's eye, especially as you're moving from 8th grade to your freshman year of high school. That will catch a coach's eye if you can be both, or you can be confident both with your right and your left hand. So that is extremely important. And then also too, the third thing is I'm going to talk about defense and being able not to use your hands and reaching on defense, but actually sliding your feet and being aggressive like that, because that is something as a coach is super frustrating when we work so hard on help defense and sliding our feet, and then you do something dumb and you reach and you get a foul, or you reach and the offensive player gets by you. Not okay. So developing really good defensive habits are extremely important as a middle school athlete. That's just going to propel you and set you ahead as you're going into high school. So those are the 3 questions I'm going to answer today. If you guys have any more questions, I would love to do some Q&A podcasts. I think that'd be super fun. But with that being said, this is the end of the podcast. I am so pumped and so excited for the direction of where this podcast is going to head. I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I'll see you guys next week with another episode. Peace.